Om Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnan Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Welcome all of you, and I wish you all a very happy Christmas. Yesterday we had a nice program on Christmas Eve where we spoke about the life and message of Jesus Christ as explained by Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda, during the course of his Western visits, the Western tour, which began in 1897, in 1993, and he visited the West several times, he was asked to speak on Jesus Christ and how Vedantists or Indians look upon Jesus Christ and how do they interpret his message. As we discussed last time, the eternal message of spirituality or true religion is the same. It's only depending on the time and the age in which these great prophets or these great saints or avatars are born, they interpret that same eternal message or spell it out differently in the language in which it will be understood. So we discussed that yesterday, and today we thought because it is Holy Mother's birthday according to Janma Tithi, which keeps on changing every year. It is uh, or tomorrow actually. So we will be having a separate session instead of the gospel class. We will be having a bhajan session like we had today from 5 to 5:30, and 5:30 we will have our normal uh, no, not normal, we will have a special talk on the life and message of Holy Mother instead of the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So today I thought, since Saturday, last Saturday we had Bhagavad Gita class, so this time we will be, as usual, we'll continue the gospel of Holy Mother. Today there is a very interesting conversation which Shirod Bala Roy, you all know that we were discussing the message or the reminiscences which she has recorded and the messages that Holy Mother gave in the course of their conversation. Shirod Bala Roy, as you are aware, we have discussed it many times before, that she was a widow, and in those days when young girls were married off at a very young age, she had become a widow when she was very young, and being of a very spiritual nature, Holy Mother had taken her under her wings and was training her. She was full of renunciation and very much attached to her Guru, who was Holy Mother herself. And she knew that it is by holding on to at, to the feet of the Holy Mother lies her entire future. Whole life will depend on how she develops devotion towards the ideal and also to her guru, that is Sri Ma Sharda Devi. So she has minutely observed, and whatever she has observed, she has expressed it through these reminiscences. Now the scene is Udbodhan, where in the previous class we discussed so about Gauranga Mahaprabhu, but now she is uh, talking about something which she observed with her own eyes. She says today's conversation begins with that, with a short note. She says Mother used to keep a close watch over the conduct of women who lived with her at Bagh Bazar. Now you all are aware that Udbodhan house, or Mayer Badi as it is popularly known, was not just a place where Mother lived with some of her relatives like Radhu and all. No doubt they were troublesome and they gave a lot of problems. Wherever she went, she took these relatives who were for some reason dependent on her. So she did not forsake them like a mother would do. She was she took as much care of both the mad mother and her daughter. Both of them were eccentric and causing a lot of trouble. But in spite of that struggle and in spite of all the problems, she used to take them wherever she went. And when the monastery here at Udbodhan, which was known as Mayarbadi, which was built by Swami Shardanandji, because as you all know, after the passing away of Sri Ramakrishna in 1886, after his Mahasamadhi, Holy Mother had no permanent place of her own. She had to move from one place to another. In the beginning, of course, she was going visiting some places of pilgrimage for the simple reason that it was not possible for her either to stay in Kamarpukur or Jairambati, which of course sometimes she used to go and stay with her mother as long as she was alive, but also it was difficult for her to be the guest of anyone. If it was, she wanted to be independent, and that is why Swami Shardanandji and all used to make arrangements, and some of the disciples, including some of the close women disciples, used to accompany her to various places of pilgrimage. That's how she visited many of the pilgrimage places like Brindavan, like Banaras, and so many places. And that Swami Shardanji knew was causing a lot of strain on her. 1886 to 1910 or 11, when the Udbodhan house was finally built after taking a loan, Holy Mother practically went with her retinue, which included these two, Radhu and her mother. Both of them used to travel with her, and it caused so much inconvenience, but she never complained. She was so compassionate, and it was a demonstration of how one could lead a life under such trying circumstances. Under the worst possible circumstances, she lived a life of freedom and independence. That is a great lesson for us to learn. We took up this study of the Holy Mother's Gospel not only because of the message. It is so important to uh, not only understand what she said, her teachings, her messages, but it is extremely important to understand her life. So that is the reason why we have decided. I'm announcing it today. In fact, I was thinking of announcing it tomorrow on Holy Mother's birthday, that on Tuesday from 7 to 8, we will be discussing the divine life of Srima Sharda Devi, because many of the people, many of our devotees who were listening to this talk on the Gospel of Holy Mother, which are some conversations recorded by some of her disciples, they get an incomplete picture unless you know the person, because their life is their message. So if one knows the message and reads the message, unless they have a proper background of what her life was like, how she lived her life, because every sentence or every word of Holy Mother is so precious that I am really uh, keen to start the divine play of the Holy Mother, because it is so important. This life, which was in fact more important than even Sri Ramakrishna's life. He said, I have done a lot, but you have to do much more. What did he mean when he asked Holy Mother and she survived him after his Mahasamadhi? She lived for 34 years after he passed away. It was not without any reason. As Swami Vivekananda pointed out, in this incarnation, it was to establish Holy Mother, that this incarnation of Sri Ramakrishna spent his entire energy. In fact, he offered the entire sadhana at the feet of Holy Mother. Even when she was a young woman, at that age, she did the Shodashi Puja. It is a very significant event in the history of spiritual life. Never before it has happened. Never before has a woman been raised to such a high pedestal. One cannot understand the significance. If Swami Vivekananda himself says, none of you, and you, when he meant none of you, he meant all the direct disciples. All the direct disciples, including Swami Brahmananda, who were uh, considered to be great spiritual giants. He says, none of you have understood the significance of Holy Mother. So what hope do we have? We do not even get a hint what the personality of Holy Mother was like. No doubt we can make humble and simple efforts to try to understand her life, and in the light of her life, try to understand a little bit of the message she delivered and which was recorded. Unlike the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, unfortunately, the Gospel of Holy Mother is not so exhaustive, because Holy Mother preferred to speak a few sentences and they are very significant. So, whatever has escaped her lips, sometimes recorded, sometimes not recorded, but somehow we managed to get a lot of information in the divine play, because for the first time in English language, especially for English readers, a lot of reminiscences are scattered in Bengali language. And Swami Chetanand has done a wonderful job by combining them all. Of course, there are two biographies of Holy Mother which which were published much before. During her centenary, Srimad Swami Gambiranji Maharaj wrote a beautiful biography of Holy Mother. But after that, there were a lot of things, lot of reminiscences, like the Gospel of Holy Mother, which is a translation of the Sri Sri Mayer Padaprante. That is the original Bengali book, published in 3 volumes now. That has been taken, most of the reminiscences have been taken, and we get the Gospel of Holy Mother. But it is scattered. There are some monastic disciples. In the first part, we saw so many reminiscences. So we get a complete view how monastics viewed Holy Mother, and how the women disciples, some of whom were householders. So there is so much of confusion unless we go through the divine life, divine play of Holy Mother, where she shows that she was more than a nun. If you see her life, though she lived with apparently with all these people, and many of the people like to say, oh, she was living with, she could not even give up her relatives. Some of them were really giving her so much trouble that a normal householder also would have renounced them and said that I have nothing to do with. They would have got disgusted. So while living a life of in the midst of all these worldly people, some of them who are very selfish, her own 2 brothers, when she was asked, they are your brothers, how lucky they are, she said, what does it matter if they are my brothers? It's their nature, it is their spiritual uh, quality that will determine them. Some people may not be related to me biologically, but they may be far far greater. So she had some such women disciples, and one of them was Shirod Bala Roy. And though she did not become a nun, for some reason mother said, no, you just remain as you are. But living in the world, she perhaps saw how Holy Mother, though she was living in the world, uh, though she was a spiritual consort of Sri Ramakrishna, there was no touch of worldliness. She was so independent, even independent of Sri Ramakrishna. It may look a little odd. How can a wife be independent of her husband? But if we see her life, that's the wonderful life of Holy Mother. If we see, she was so independent even when he was alive. Many times, we discussed some of the reminiscences where some women devotees, like Lakshmi Didi and others, they wanted to have that opportunity to serve him. As it is, Holy Mother very rarely was allowed to go to the room where he stayed in. He met devotees in Dakshineshwar. In those days, it was so difficult. So one opportunity Holy Mother got was to just go and feed him, cook some things. Of course, she continued to cook because his stomach was very sensitive to food. So she used to cook simple food and then carry it. That was the only time perhaps throughout the day she would meet. But even that was, some of the devotees would come and request her, please permit us to take this food, some women devotees. And they used to feel Yogin Ma, for example. She used to say, I will get an opportunity, because no, normally a lot of men would be there, and these women found it difficult to go and ask questions and solve their spiritual problems. Mother, without any hesitation, even deprived herself of that. So that shows that though she led a married life, she was a spiritual consort of Sri Ramakrishna. The divine place, as Sri Ramakrishna himself said, you'll have to do a lot. It was such an independent life, and it gives a wonderful picture of how how freedom was freedom to decide what one should do was uh, fully embodied in the Holy Mother. And you will find her a totally independent spiritual person. If you see, read her divine life, a great woman who came to show, as Sister Nivedita said, how future women should be. Is she the last of the old order, or is she the first of the new order? She was a little confused because she thought she belonged to the ancient order of women in India, and perhaps she is the last. After that, no women can follow her example. But then she said, oh, maybe she is the first of the new order of women who will come, and inspired by the life of Holy Mother, as Swamiji said, with Holy Mother in the center, a new generation of women will be not only be trained or born, but they will be uh, they will take her as an ideal, and centered around her a whole women's empowerment movement will be built. We are still very near history. It's though we have it's 100 years have passed after the passing away of Holy Mother in 2020. Exactly 100 years were over. But even in 100 years, if we compare the life of Jesus, if we compare the life of Buddha, we hardly Buddha was recognized and became a world figure only when his teachings were compiled 500 after years after he left. So 100 years is a very, very short period to evaluate the greatness of a ideal which was one of the first great ideals for true women's empowerment in the true sense, the true spiritual empowerment of women. If somebody demonstrated, it was Holy Mother. And for that reason, according to Swamiji, Holy Mother incarnated. Now, if we see these conversations which are recorded by Shirod Bala Roy, who at that time in a society which curtailed the freedom and the independence of women, especially when they were widows. The widows had practically no say. Every opportunity or every society was so cruel to them that they hardly found anything worth living for. They had to quietly live a life of total isolation with so many social restrictions placed upon them. And and in such a atmosphere, defying all social conventions, Holy Mother accepted Shirod Bala Roy and gave her some wonderful advice. That's why this advice, which these reminiscences are so important. And her observations which she made, how Holy Mother used to keep a close watch over the conduct of women who lived with her at Bagh Bazar. Can you imagine a monastery where on the first floor there was Holy Mother, of course, she was the center of the whole mother's house. But there were some mad relatives of her whom she was looking after. She was tolerating them, not only tolerating them, but controlling them so that they don't disturb the atmosphere. She was taking up everything on herself. And on the other side, there were monks who are living below, who had renounced everything and come here to lead a monastic life. So to combine these two things was such a difficult task. Even Swami Shardan used to find sometimes very difficult to control these uh, 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 eccentric women whom Holy Mother looked after. But he knew that because Holy Mother is there, everything goes on smoothly. So how she used to keep a watch, we'll get a hint. I'll start today's conversation. And our Shirod Bala Roy says, Mother used to keep a close watch over the conduct of women who lived with her at Bagh Bazar. She used to express her annoyance, even if a metal pot or a bowl fell from somebody's hand. You see, it's just like a monastery. I mean, where people uh, would prefer, a monastery cannot be a noisy place. So, though householders were living on the first floor, of course, most of them had nowhere else to go. You can't call them householders, but they were biological relatives of mother. There was Yoginma, who was a widower, and there are so many other women living there. because they had nobody else. They would prefer to live with mother, and they were feeling safe, and it was good for their spiritual life also. So they were living on the first floor, and on the ground floor, these monks used to live and run the center. Of course, Shardananji was there. He was not only running the Udbodhan house, but running the whole Ramakrishna mission as a general secretary. And on the top of that, writing the monumental Great Master, which we discuss on every Thursday. So if some sound came, it would not only disturb. Shardananji of course was insulated from all these things. No matter how much people shouted, he used to meditate, he used to do his sadhana, he used to write his books in the midst of all this confusion and noise and everything. He had trained his mind, in his own words, not to be disturbed by anything, anytime. And he managed it so nicely. That's why Holy Mother said that without Sharadananji, I could not have, and he is the only one who could look after me and my retinue. So one day, what happened, and nobody was allowed. Holy Mother was so strict, just as if she was the abbot of the monastery. She used to, she never permitted anybody to talk, even talk, gossip. Gossiping is so common with women, especially those who are not inclined to spirituality. So Shirod Bala noticed this. She would not allow them to just talk the way normally people who live in the world gossip. So none of them was permitted to talk without any plausible reason. Even these rules are not followed in the monastery. It is so difficult that if you impose this rule, even in monasteries where this is very normal, even then it is very difficult to live without talking, without just gossiping or just wasting whiling our the time. But here mother was, apart from her love and kindness and compassion with all the eccentricities these women had, she saw to it that they did not break the discipline. And without any plausible reason, not only the women but also the newly joined brahmacharis or monks who were there, they were not supposed to talk. So you can see how a life of a nun could be lived even in the midst of an household with so many crazy people around. So one day Radharani, now as she was very crazy, she had a fad for jewelry, and she used to wear this tinkling anklets which are normally worn by dancers. So it shows a spirit of restlessness. So she was wearing that and was just going down the steps making a lot of noise. And on hearing the jingling of anklets, the mother stared hard upward in such a manner that Shirod Bala Roy felt apprehensive. She was afraid. What is mother going to do? Will she slap her? As soon as Radharani appeared, the mother said, Radhi, are you not ashamed? My sannyasin children are staying downstairs and you are running along the stairs with your anklets on. Tell me what they will think of you. Take off those anklets right now. Now she was a eccentric girl. So then she said something very significant. Men and women who are here, I mean in the Udbodhan, have not assembled here for fun. Every one of them is doing some kind of spiritual practice. Do you know the consequences if their spiritual practices are disturbed? So I don't know whether Radhu understood the significance, but she scolded. And as usual, Radhi got angry. As soon as mother said these words with lot of firmness, she was literally telling her, warning her not to do this. Radhu took off the anklets and threw them towards the mother with anger, just as small children do. She had that nature. She was uh, uh, an eccentric young woman. So naturally, she got angry and threw the anklets. Sometimes we have seen before also in our biography, it is there. Sometimes when in the kitchen, if sometimes mother scolded her, she would take the charcoal, and throw it on Holy Mother. Once or twice she threw vegetables on her. So she was a very eccentric girl, but mother uh, mother reprimanded her and told her, just keep quiet, don't disturb here. People have not come here for fun. This is a monastery. Don't do this. As she took her anklets and threw, everybody was frightened. Shirudbala was afraid that she may hit her on the face. Then, though mother was fearless, we all became frightened. Everybody was frightened because they knew the consequences, and she would throw anything, any object which was near her, she would throw at mother. Another day, Radhu, after her bath, was combing her hand, making some design by pressing her hair with a towel. Seeing this, the mother said, "What are you doing?" Now, normally, she was a young girl, of course, she was fond of decorating her hair and trying to make it look beautiful. Then, Holy Mother said something significant. She says, you think, what are you doing? Do you think you will look beautiful by such means? Far from it, all this seems so ugly to me. She says, I never braided my hair myself. She's speaking about herself. She said, right from childhood, I just left the hair to grow. Gaurdasi used to come from time to time and braid my hair. So Gaurdasi thought they were unkempt hair. She used to have, Holy Mother, and she was not careful about her own hair. So she used to come and sometimes uh, comb it nicely and try to braid her hair. But Holy Mother says, then again I could not retain that braid for long and undid it soon. So she was feeling very uncomfortable. These days I find you are behaving otherwise. I mean, she's saying that uh, she is as if telling Radhi that don't waste your time doing all these things. Golap Ma, who was near, took this opportunity and made a remark. Golapma was sitting near. She was listening to all these things that Holy Mother is criticizing Radhi. Then she said something which uh, uh, which was very significant. She says, Mother, you are Mukta Keshi. One of the names of the Divine Mother is Mukta Keshi. If you see the image of Durga or Kali, you will not see them with braided hair. They just let the hair flow as naturally as possible. So Mukta means free. Keshi means the hair, one whose hair is free. So that is one of the names of the Divine Mother. So she was saying, Golapma was nearby, said, Mother, you are Mukta Keshi indeed. Therefore, what will you do but keep your hair unbraided? That means for you it is natural, you are the Divine Mother herself. But why do you blame these young girls? So in a light way, of course, Golapma tried to point out the divinity of the Holy Mother. So this was recorded by Shirodbala Roy. Now, one day, a strange thing, so many topics were discussed. Sometimes the topics were related to the world, but Holy Mother gave wonderful answers to all of them. One day, the wife of a Munsif was a judicial officer who used to work for the British government. So they were in touch with all the news which the British government did when the World War I was going on. This was during the First World War. So a lot of news used to come and they used to discuss. The judicial officer, of course, would come in touch with the British officials who would give a lot of news. So the women present, though it had nothing to do with them, they were discussing the World War. World War was a hot topic of discussion, no doubt, but one could not expect women, especially those who are spiritually inclined, to discuss all these things. The Munsif's wife asked the mother. She asked, naturally, she was a householder, she had her own questions to ask, and they were all afraid. There was a talk that the World War may uh, affect the Indian people, the war may take place in India itself. The enemies might come and attack India because India was a colony of the British. So said, everybody says that the war is going to extend over here. If so, what will happen to us, mother? So they, like all other women, she was worried, and she had heard from her husband that there is a possibility that some enemies of the British would attack India. In fact, it happened. Japan attacked during the Second World War, of course. But the mother was as if she knew what would happen in the future. She was the ideal guru, she was the ideal Ishta. So she knew what the past, present, and future of the whole situation, local situation as well as the world situation. Holy Mother immediately replied, "These are but rumors." Now you see, people are carried away by these rumors and they start discussing, useless discussion on whether it will spread. But Mother was full of conviction. He said, "Why should the war spread up to this place? And the warfare is not as intense there, even as it should have been." Now, this is something unique because Holy Mother was not in the habit of listening to radio if radio was there, or even read newspapers. But all the things which were going on in the world, somehow she had an intuitive insight to all the events that have been happening. And she said, even the warfare which is happening there, it could have been worse, but it is not happening. It's not, the situation is not bad. And moreover, why should it extend here? So she ruled out, and then that woman was consoled. The mother sat quietly. Then she showed a lot of disinterest. Said, "Why have you come here for this topic?" She just shut that conversation and said, "Why will they attack and why will any commotion be created? Why are you worrying and anxious about something so trivial?" And she just kept quiet. Now, during that same time, because of the war and because of some of the policies of Churchill, a lot of wheat was diverted, which was grown in India, was diverted to feed the World War soldiers. A lot of wheat was taken away to England to as a buffer stock in case they need it during the war. So as a result, a man-made famine was created. People could not get wheat and they were dying. So many people, not only in hundreds, but in thousands and sometimes in 100,000s, they died. It's almost 1.4 million. If you see the Great Famine of 1911, 1912, which is one of the uh, greatest famine which took place in Bengal. So people were dying by the day. So Ramakrishna Mission, which was already established, was rendering a lot of relief. A lot of rich people donated money and it was being distributed to the famine affected people. So one day the mother, though she was not interested in the war, but she was very much concerned about the famine conditions. She was describing it very vividly, how women, how she saw suffering taking place in all these among the underprivileged people. She spoke of the distress of people at various places, the amount of money the mission was spending to redress their sufferings, and the way the monastic members of the order were working day and night to mitigate their sufferings. It seemed to me that she was feeling in her heart of hearts all the sufferings of these people, of the entire world. So it's not that she was insensitive, though she was full of renunciation and silly, trivial things did not concern her. But when there was a genuine problem anywhere in the world, it's not necessarily in India, but she kept herself informed. She was the Sangha Janani, one who controlled the organization and saw to it that it was running smoothly. Swami Shardanji, obviously, as the General Secretary, would give her information from time to time, and she was so keen to keep uh, uh, to keep abreast of all the information or the uh, relief work and other things, charitable work that the mission was doing, especially in Bengal through the different centers. It is said that in those days, a lot of rice was sent even by Swami Ranganathanji during the Second World War from Karachi and other places which were relatively, in those days it was part of India. So there were some wheat belts and rice belts from where this wheat was sent because the government would not give. So the mission was given permission uh, to get wheat from other parts of India and somehow save the lives of these people. So uh, off and on, now after this conversation, uh, Shirod Bala Roy sees, makes another wonderful observation. You see, it's not that Holy Mother was looking after she was not only looking after the entire monastery there, but also watching everybody. Lakshmi Didi was one of the biological relatives of Sri Ramakrishna. She was his niece. So she was also living with mother. So off and on, this Shirod Balarai was in touch with this Lakshmi Didi. And I used to call upon Lakshmi Didi at Dakshineshwar in before this Udbodhan was built. She often spoke to me in confidence. So she was very close to Shirod Bala. So she was a lady who had some spiritual attainment, and being a relative of Thakur, naturally the devotees who respected Sri Ramakrishna also respected her. Though she was spiritually inclined, no doubt, but she had some defects which Holy Mother observed, and she wanted to protect her. So this Shirod Bala Roy, who was her great friend, she spoke to her in confidence and said, please tell mother that I don't like to stay here. I mean, she was in Udbodhan, well protected, but somehow she felt that she was feeling that she does not have the freedom she deserved. And then she said, tell mother, she did not have the courage to tell mother herself. So she wanted Shirod Bala Devi Roy to go and tell Holy Mother this fact that I don't like to stay here. The nieces who attend upon me here don't like any devotee to come to me. She was a senior devotee of Thakur. I mean, though she was a niece, she was quite elderly as compared to Holy Mother. But she had that kind of feeling that she should be advising people spiritually. So she did not, and naturally when she lived in Udbodhan, those devotees of hers whom she used to guide were not allowed to come freely because there were some restrictions, and the other nieces who attended upon Lakshmi Devi did not allow her to meet for several reasons. This was a monastery. So then she says, tell mother that I shall go to Brindavan and that I shall take you along with me. So she said, why don't you come with me? I'll take you along with me. Let us go to Brindavan so that at least I can uh, talk to the devotees freely and we can meet them uninterrupted. So Shirod Bala naturally asked Holy Mother that she is saying like this. I told mother everything. Then mother immediately said, see daughter, Lakshmi goes mad at the sight of devotees. That's why those two girls, nieces of Lakshmi Didi, feel annoyed at the coming of devotees here. Now, it's not without any reason that they are blocking these people from coming, because the moment these devotees come, Lakshmi Didi gathers all these people and some of them create nuisance. So they should not be blamed here. Tell Lakshmi, I shall go to her one day and explain to her. She wanted to go and tell, don't worry. Uh, uh, but besides, you should not go to any place in her company. So she not only was unhappy that she wanted to leave this place, but she did not want Shirod Bala Roy to be in the company of Lakshmi Didis because she might be spoiled. So that is how the Guru protects the disciple. If she comes across a devotee on her way, she should stay there for a week. Someone has to be always with her to guard her. She wants to stay in Brindavan. People are so pestered with monkeys there. Now that is another problem. In those days, it was so difficult. Any food or anything you carry, the monkeys would just jump on. It was very difficult for people who were not protected to stay there. Will she be able to stay there? So that is another reason she gave. Somehow she did not want Lakshmi Didi to go away. I passed on to Lakshmi Didi everything the mother had said. I further added, you are now in such a mental state that if you are to be sent anywhere, some special arrangements are to be made for you. I hear you too have the same experience as the master. Now, she was really spiritually evolved. It's not that she was not evolved. And everybody knew that. So, mother was protecting and feeling that if she tries to mix a lot with devotees, then that high spiritual state which she had acquired, that would be lost. Then no sooner, but still she was full of anger. No sooner did I utter this, Shirot Bola Roy tried her best to explain to Lakshmi Didi why mother is preventing you from going there. She has your good in mind. But then he says, "Mm, does it happen to human being what happened to the master?" Now she wanted to say that why you are so much of making a big fuss. I don't have the same state. Master needed a Hriday to hold him when he went into Samadhi. I'm not going, I'm free and I'm independent. Of course, Sri Krishna's health and body was so delicate after so many spiritual experiences that somebody needed to be near him. Otherwise, he would fall down, as it happened once. He broke his hand, there was a fracture. He said, does it happen? Any human being other than the master, these things will not happen. And I am the victim of a disease. That's why I cannot move out from here. She had certain problems, but she thought it is a biological phenomena. So she said, I have a small problem, and these people uh, are not allowing me. They're using that as an excuse. These days, Lakshmi Didi, Shirot Bala Roy is writing now. She says, these days, as it happens when spiritual people grow spiritually, they behave like small children. So she was complaining, complaining to Shirot Bala that mother is not allowing me and trying to be angry, just like a small child. The anger was not just as the child gets angry and immediately forgets. So Shirot Bala Roy writes that this Lakshmi Didi had now she was behaving like a child. Her state was slowly, she was evolving, and she often behaved like a child. Now, another wonderful incident, we will try to close this after this particular incident. And if there are some questions, we'll see. One day, a woman vendor came to sell blankets. Now, it was very common in those days because women could not go out. Shops and shopping malls and all those things were not there. So most of these people who sold blankets and other clothes would come and go from door to door, and they would get a small commission for whatever they sold. And they had a very small margin. They had to work very hard. So Nalini Didi was like Lakshmi Didi. She was also staying, and she was very. Uh, she tried to control everybody. The vendor demanded 1 rupee and 25 paise for a blanket. So she was trying to settle the price of a blanket, but Nalini Didi was arguing with him and saying that no, you give it for 1 rupee. So that's what we normally do, we bargain. Holy Mother heard that talk from a distance. She called Nalini Didi and said, why are you haggling with her for? Nalini Didi said, I want to pay 1 rupee for the blanket, but she is asking for a quarter of a rupee more. So Holy Mother immediately got displeased, and Mother said, how is it that you are haggling with her so long just to save 1/4 of a rupee? I am seeing you are just wasting your time. Fie upon you. She moves from door to door, carrying blankets on her head for earning some money, and you have detained her for a few, saving a few coins. Moreover, what do you want a blanket for? You have everything, still you want to purchase one more blanket. So in a way, she was giving lessons, explaining that first of all, you don't know with how much difficulty these people earn a few. This is their profession. So if they can't earn, if you haggle with them and don't, just for saving a few coins, and moreover you are buying things which you don't need. So it was not just that Holy Mother was miserly, but she did not like waste. Like Master used to very often say that Holy Mother, Sri Krishna, not only taught them the wonderful spiritual truths, but also gave them tips how not to waste things. Because after all, an ideal householder, one who lives in a household, has to make proper use of one's money. So he says, you don't need a blanket. Do you really need a blanket? If you don't need a blanket, please don't buy it. Then pointing at me, the mother said, now this is something very strange, because Shirot Bala Roy had never mentioned about her simple life, about her poverty. Though she was a devotee and she used to come regularly, Nobody bothered, but mother had knew everything. She had not even asked her, but I think she knew. She could read everybody's mind. Then pointing at me, she is explaining, Nalini Didi, see, look at this girl. It would rather be nice if you could give one blanket to my daughter. Don't just talk things here. Just give it to my daughter. She doesn't use anything except one blanket. And sometimes it is very cold, you need two blankets. But she possesses only one blanket. She passes her entire winter days with this. Still, she does not ask anyone for another piece of blanket. She was a widow, naturally, she didn't have money. Perhaps she has never used more than two saris at a time throughout her life. And see, in spite of this, she is so happy. You don't see the bright side of others. I was simply stupefied. When she heard these words, Shirotbala Roy was shocked because he said, I wondered how mother was posted with so much information about me. Although I never mentioned to her anything about my blanket or my sari, how many saris I had. How many times she made me understand that she was truly our real mother. Discarding her physical body, the mother, now these reminiscences were written after the passing away of Holy Mother. So she says, discarding her physical body, the mother is now bestowing her blessings much more. Whoever calls upon her, the indwelling mother approaches him and settles all his problems. Formerly, one had to make various arrangements to see her. Now, sitting at a place, if someone sincerely applies one's heart, one can find the mother. When her disciples are in trouble, she comes on her own and protects them. I have heard many such anecdotes. So, she will be describing all these wonderful anecdotes where people, after the passing away of, after the Mahasamadhi of the Holy Mother, when these reminiscences were written, she is recollecting a few experiences which others had, and she herself had observed that how Holy Mother, when somebody earnestly, when they were in trouble and earnestly sought her protection, she somehow came and solved those problems. So we'll conclude now. If there are some questions, I will take them. We'll discuss about them. And tomorrow, as usual, I mean not as usual, the class will be as usual at 5:30, but it will be on the life and message of the divine of Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi. And 5 o'clock you can join. There will be a few bhajans of some of our devotees have kindly agreed to sing. So we will be we'll start the celebrations. Unfortunately, we cannot uh, have it here. So at least we thought we'll have the online event from 5 to 5:30 bhajans, 5:30 to 6:30 our normal usual talk, but instead of the gospel, it will be on the life and message of Holy Mother. Yeah. If there are any questions, yeah, yeah there are some Christmas messages here. So, on behalf of our Vedanta Center, we convey a Merry Christmas, a very happy Christmas, and a fulfilling New Year to all of you. We will be also trying to celebrate the Kalpataru Day online as usual. Uh, Most probably it will be at 3 o'clock. That is the normal time in India. But here we do not know, first year is a holiday, so we might as well do it at 3 o'clock. But we'll let you know later. So if there are some questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we'll disperse for today. Okay. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.